In part one, we ended with a question preparedness never answers. If loss is predictable, why are homeowners still guessing?
Because the insurance companies, they don't guess. The markets don't guess. So the real question is this. If the information already exists, who's translating it for the people who live with that risk?
This episode is about how risk becomes visible. You're listening to DisasterClass Podcast by Instinct Ready Emergency Management. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of DisasterClass, the podcast that's dedicated to helping you educate, prepare, and equip yourself for life's disruptions. I'm Jason Perez, and with me today is Jason Martin, a.k.a. Pappy.
Happy to be here.
And Pappy, we need to start with something important. Risk visibility already exists.
You're right, Jason. It's just not evenly distributed because insurance companies, they see the risk through the models they have, but homeowners usually see it in the loss that they experience.
What's happening with insurance abandonment is a flaw in how property insurance has been written probably for 100 years. And that's where you have a risk pool, which is where part of your money, when you pay your premium, goes. And that's what they're betting that they've done their algebra correctly, that if I'm insuring 1,000 houses, I'm going to have 100 claims, and I only need to take so much of this money that I'm collecting and put it in the pool. Now I have what's left over to play with.
That's not guesswork.
You're right. That's just visibility. And it's been shaping decisions long before most homeowners even realized it.
And this is where traditional preparedness falls short.
And that's unfortunate because most people live by checklists, but checklists don't show you why something failed. They treat every risk as an equal.
If you just put a new roof on, I hope that whoever it was that did it nailed it correctly. It's kind of like, oh, okay, I know that it's supposed to have 7 nails in this shingle, but I'm only going to put 5. You'd be amazed as how much difference those 2 nails do.
That's not a failure of effort.
It's a failure, Jason, because of the lack of visibility. People don't ignore risk, they guess where it lives.
And when risk becomes visible, behavior changes.
You're right. People stop spreading effort evenly. They prioritize based on what those risks are.
In the case of fire, it really does come down to looking at combustibles, clearing that safety zone, 30 feet or more around your house itself, debris, overhanging trees. And one of the ones that's a real big one that I don't think a lot of people think about is the vents. You've got gable vents, you may have soffit vents, you may have dryer vents, you may have a space on a conventional foundation where things can get under your house. And to be able to get in something as cheap as a fine mesh screen, you can stuff steel wool into these spaces, which is cheap.
That's not fear-based preparedness.
You're right, Jason. That's informed decision making.
When risk becomes visible, systems respond differently. Insurance, real estate, recovery timelines.
We've really kind of come to the conclusion that the climate is being priced in to your life now. The insurance companies are pricing it in. The real estate companies are pricing it in. And the government's going to start pricing it in. That's serious stuff. Your house is your piggy bank. That's for your retirement. That's the kids' education. That's where you stash your dough. And so in this particular case, if you're going to lose a point a year every 10 years, and most people stay in their houses on average about that 7 to 10 years, you just lost 10% of the value of your home. And the flip side of that that's kind of cool is if you do the hardening, those houses are selling for anywhere from 6 to 8% more premium over appraised value because you hardened it.
And that, everybody, is recovery planning before the disaster.
So here's the logical next question. If insurers can see risk clearly,
Who's translating that information for the homeowners?
Future Proof project actually came out of the TPHA, which is the Materials Affordable Housing Project. And we wanted an educational section in the website to be able to teach people how to use this material and how you need to start becoming aware that, these weather problems are going to get worse.
And that right there, that's the through line.
This didn't start as a product. It started as an attempt to show people what actually fails and why.
Future-proof property intelligence exists to make risk visible at the property level.
Not just where a house sits on the map, but how it's built, how it fails, and which fixes actually change the outcome.
What we see that probably is the biggest benefit for insurance in our pipeline, our infrastructure that we're looking to try to get built here, is the fact that we can rescore your property.
So instead of being stuck with a risk label you can't change, something that the insurance companies just give you, you can influence how your property is understood.
And that's kind of what, we're doing with the image processing is, and of course it's AI guided in the sense that when you're walking around the house, it's going, now let me see what's up underneath the eaves, raise the camera up. So it's doing analysis of what it's seeing in real time to be able to give the person with the camera a tutor of what they have to do in order to gather what that information is. And likewise, looking out from the side of the house in terms of a panorama of the boundary line of your neighborhood and what your next door neighbor's house looks like. Because, you're always saying, okay, well, I'm betting that Tom's house will be the one that burns, not mine. Well, if Tom is your neighbor and Tom has done nothing, then he is no longer your friend in a disaster. He's a liability. No offense to Tom.
What matters isn't the technology, though.
That's right. It's what it enables. Seeing risk before disaster forces the lesson.
We have one little gizmo that we are going to incorporate into our program, but it's kind of like an air tag, if you're familiar with those. If your house has been remediated, you just stick this thing over your front door. It's about the size of probably a $50. And when the first responders drive by, they know your house has already been hardened. They go to try to work on the house that's further up the road. In other words, how do we assign resources to the response? And we found that was, an element to bring the first responders and the recovery operations into a higher level of efficiency.
So preparedness becomes a signal.
Not intention, but capability.
One of the things that becomes clear in conversations like this is that information alone isn't enough.
No, we've got to seeing that risk. That's what matters. But people still need help to make that right decision, to turn that insight into action.
And that's where our work at Instinct Ready lives. Not replacing tools like Future Proof, but in helping people use that kind of information to actually reduce risk in the real world.
And so here at Instinct Ready, we work with you. We work with families, businesses, communities to move beyond that generic preparedness. We want to help people understand that real risk, to prioritize mitigation that really matters and will benefit them, but also to build plans that still work when systems are strained or unavailable.
Different tools, same goal, reducing loss and improving the ability to recover. So if you want to learn more about the work Ben and his team are doing, you can find future-proof intelligence at futureproof.org.
That's futureproof.org. We'll include the links to that in the show notes so you can explore how property level risk analysis works and decide whether it's useful for you.
Preparedness didn't fail because people stopped caring.
You're right, Jason. It failed because people couldn't see.
But when risk becomes visible, preparedness changes.
And with that, recovery becomes possible.
Before we conclude this episode of Disaster Class, please make sure you like, subscribe, leave us that comment. If you have a question, a recommended topic, or just want to chat, send us an email at disasterclass@instinctready.com or drop us a message on our socials at DisasterClass Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Stay educated,
Stay prepared.
stay equipped.
Class dismissed. Let's hit the playground.
Disaster Class is brought to you by Instinct Ready Emergency Management. This episode was sponsored in part by Stop the Bleed Coalition. This episode was hosted by Jason Perez and Jason Martin, with a special appearance by Ben Gilliland. Disaster Class is directed, produced, and edited by Jason Perez. Copyright 2026, Instinct Ready Incorporated, all rights reserved.